Times are tough in the West. In the town of Collie, mining workers are facing a pay cut of more than 40% unless they cop new conditions sought by management. It's part of a new trend which is seeing the Fair Work Commission terminate enterprise agreements during bargaining and pushing employees back onto the award. It's happening Australia-wide at big-name companies like AGL, Horizon and Esso. Stephen Long travelled to Collie to look at the impact it's having on the ground.
The town of Collie is coal through and through. For well over 100 years, generations of miners have dug the seams here in the southwest of Western Australia. Some paying the ultimate price. Now the historic town and its workers are at the centre of a very modern dispute that's a sign of the times.
I don't think this approach has been taken in wages and conditions since the 1930s. It is an historic shift in the bargaining power between employees and employers.
In June, at the request of Griffin coal, the Fair Work Commission terminated an enterprise agreement covering maintenance workers at the loss-making Collie mine. It's handed the company a legal right to cut workers' pay by 43%.
Look, what this does for bargaining power is it massively shifts the power over to employers and away from unions and workforce, because now the threat is, if you don't accept what we want, we can go back to the floor, which is the award. And that, for many people, that will mean a 30–40% pay cut.
Caris Golding's got friends over for tea and scones. All the women have husbands at the mine, and they're all stressed and worried about their families, the workers and the town.
In the grand scheme of everything, an ABA has been cancelled.
The roll-on effect that this is going to have is just terrible.
What's it going to mean for your family?
It means potentially losing our house. Well, I think the cut is probably somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 a pay period. So for us, I mean, that's a whole mortgage payment, more than a mortgage payment. But yeah, so I took that out of the equation and put it aside just to see if we could manage, you know, on that money once we've had bills, insurances, mortgage come out, a car payment, shopping, and no.
And it flows through the family. My daughter started waking up in the middle of the night every single night for 6 weeks. And it's you try not to put it on your kids, but they feel and they see what goes around you.
Lucky mum. We very naively, 12 months ago, signed up to build a new house, and we're about 3 weeks away from getting our keys to our new house that we're currently building, and we'll possibly go pretty close to losing both houses.
What the company wants is the hours.
The company are proposing that the blokes go and they're going to be working, it'll be 7 days on, then they'll have 3 days off, and then they have 7 night shifts on, and then they'll have 4 days off.
Just like a fly-in, fly-out.
Fly-in, fly-out.
Yeah. Means seeing my husband a lot less.
It's springing up like mushrooms. Collie is part of a new strategy by employers of terminating agreements to create pressure on a bargaining situation, to rip the rug from under people.
But in the corporate offices and the city law firms, they see it slightly differently.
Previously, employees and the unions often had no reason, no impetus to agree to some of the changes proposed by an employer. They had the floor of the status quo, the security that was afforded to that. Once you threaten that floor, it gives a real reason why they might be more attracted to some of the offers that employers put forward.
There's no doubt things have to change in Collie. The Indian power giant Lanco paid top dollar for Griffin coal, and it's losing hundreds of millions. But is this the way?
It only seems to be happening when companies are facing financial difficulty. Isn't there a case for this?
Financial difficulty is not new, and it's a matter to be negotiated. And in my experience over many years, workers always face up to the reality of bad times and negotiate accordingly. You don't need to be hit over the back of the head with what I think is an underhanded tactic to put a gun to the head of workers and say, you agree with what we want, or we'll take 40% off your pay.
Often the enterprise agreements contain restrictive terms, and so the only way to lift those restrictive terms and to increase productivity at an enterprise level will be to terminate the enterprise agreement.
At the Federal Hotel in Collie, I met some retired miners. Some quit rather than risk being pushed back onto the award.
I got even money in long service leave and holidays, and I couldn't afford to lose it. I could afford to lose it, but I didn't want to.
What was the impact going to be on you if you'd stayed on and had to take it at a lower rate, at the award rate?
On the award rate, it would have cut my entitlement by 2/3.
If you ever look at the conditions they'll be on, 25, 30 years ago we were on them conditions.
I think there's been about 25 workers that are in similar situation that have decided that they wanted to leave. Financially, it was the best move for them.
It's crazy what's happening.
They're of the view workers are bearing the brunt of Lanco's folly.
Everybody knows, people that work out there know that they pay too much for the company, and I think they're just trying to deflect some of that loss back onto the workforce.
It's obvious to everybody in town that they didn't do their due diligence properly.
Yeah, it's a way of minimising their risk, their business risk, at the workers' disadvantage, really, isn't it?
Well, the other side of the equation is that enterprise agreements are made at a time for a period, and those circumstances change.
Look, Australia's labour market is at a crisis. The amount of casual, contractor, precarious work, the number of internships for no pay is out of control. And now you're seeing these pay-cutting strategies come into organised bargaining environments. And basically it needs a major overhaul.
In its latest offer, the company is asking the Collie miners to work longer hours for more than $20,000 less pay. At the end of the day, they may have little choice.